Those of you who have seen either some of my streams or one of my videos might know the name GreatKingDavid. He is the abrasive black guy who is always in my Discord trying to get people to say racial slurs because he thinks it's hilarious. Now, when I first met David, he was a legendary troll on Star Wars The Old Republic. You could literally mention his name and general chat would go into a frenzy, frothing at the mouth, just hearing the name of the person who had sent most of them into a tizzy at one point or another. My first raid experience with David lasted about 15 minutes, and his trolling that he was throwing at me made me rage quit out of the game, slamming my fists into the keyboard, and I signed off that night, angry, pissed off, to a single message that flashed across my screen before I hit the quit button. Black man wins again. I did not talk or play with David for another year or so after that, but eventually, just through circumstances, we ended up on the same raid team together, and through the years, he's been a stable member of the Chicken Shack Guild, and I dare say a good friend now. But David, I judged him, I guess, by his cover. And David, during Star Wars, had a character named Boss Reeves. Now, I'm a middle-class, highly educated white dude from Virginia, and I admit I was judging the black guy from Cincinnati who had a high school education when he told me that Boss Reeves was a real person and that he was actually who the Lone Ranger was based on. I said, bullshit. I was like, there's no way I missed out on that part of history. Yeah, I did. He's real. This is true. Yeah, Boss Reeves was an escaped slave who only escaped because he got into a drunken poker match with his master and punched him during the match, so he decided, well, this is going to go poorly for me, and ran away to Oklahoma. There he did a full-on Dances with Wolves, lived with several Indian tribes in the area, learned all of their languages, and eventually settled in Oklahoma as a woodsman. Now, when the U.S. Marshals Service was created, they needed to traverse Oklahoma, which at the time was being described as something like Afghanistan post-Taliban insurgency in terms of lawlessness. So the U.S. Marshals heard about this ambidextrous former slave who spoke all of the languages in the area, and they decided that they could deputize him and use him. And by ambidextrous lawman, I mean he could wield guns akimbo like they do in the movies, like you're not supposed to do. He could do that. So what Boss Reeves did was go on to not only be the inspiration for the Lone Ranger, but countless other figures in movie history. Thanks, Tarantino. But he had the most prolific lawman career of anyone in the United States. He ended up arresting over 3,000 fugitives from justice. He was such a badass when he gunned down one fugitive. The fugitive, instead of saying, fuck you, Boss Reeves, you got me, and dying, he said, you're kind of badass, man. You're like my hero. I want you to take my gun and this bullet that I designed for you, and I want you to shoot someone else who's really bad with it because I'm just big fan. Hey, and then he died. Absolute badass. So whether it's GreatKingDavid or Boss Reeves, what you should always remember is never judge a book by its cover. And I'm going to use this intro for the first class that surprises me during this playtesting, which is Teeth Necromancer. This was surprisingly good, but more importantly, it is fun. If you like field classes, this is a great option. Having Teeth for a shotgun, Spear for a long-range hallway sniper, and Bone Spirit for single target is just really cool. The Spirit also tracks the target, so if you're quick enough, you can snipe aura bosses down. Some of these backgrounds you might see as staff because I forgot Bone Shade existed for a hot minute, but the kicker here is reaching 125 FCR, which isn't terribly hard. I am using a 20 FCR Circlet and the 20 FCR Ami to reach that. So you can really push this class with decent FCR corruptions elsewhere to push the skills. I hate asking for subscribers. I think it's cringe. And at the same time, I want people to watch my videos, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite. But if you want to, the sub button is here in the corner. That corner, there, right there. Now, I have to give you something. So I guess if I hit 1,000 subs, which is very far off, I think I'm only around 360, something like that when I'm recording this. If I hit 1,000, I'll do a face reveal, and you all can figure out what I look like. Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? I'm recording something here, man. Bro. Privacy. Some people. Single target. The Shotgun of Teeth really allows you to clear a room and single out those bosses. I just wish Bone Spirit did more damage. It barely feels different from Bone Spear for a much higher mana cost. It tracks, which is nice, but on actual bosses as opposed to just the elite packs, you have that nagging, pecking away feeling instead of a satisfying chunking of the boss. Senpai, if you're ever watching this, I actually think this is a great candidate for a rebalance, because Teeth hits just a little too hard for a shotgun spell, and Bone Spear could use a little bit of a buff to distinguish it from Teeth, and Spirit needs a massive bump, in my opinion. This class could really be a lot better. It just needs a little TLC to differentiate the skills, but as it currently stands, I'm giving it a 3 out of 10 on single target, just because I like the fact that Bone Spirit tracks, so you can snipe things, which is pretty cool. AoE, Teeth, Teeth, Teeth. Holy God, this is a hallway map specialist if there ever was one. Look at her go. That said, the class doesn't scale quite as well delving into plus life percentage maps, like its counterpart Poison does, which again, a little rebalance might help. But if you avoid lifer maps, it's just insanely quick with Teeth Shotgun. 7 out of 10 because it does lack that good top-end scaling. So safety. Well, it's a Necro with Golems, and spread attack to bitch slap monsters into hit recovery. That said, unlike Poison, where your Golems kind of do their own thing, Golems with Bone track your target. So if you spin around and attack a guy from behind, you lose your nice frontal cone and you can get murked. Also, don't jump in the middle of a pack because it again kind of screws with the targeting of the Golems. They don't just want to walk through things and you'll get murked. So I think it's a class it's a think class as opposed to like the brainless safety of Poison, so we have to knock it a bit here. 7.5 on safety. Ubers. I only found one video of a BoneMancer doing Ubers, and it was basically the Merc doing the work with Crushing Blow. The problem here is magic damage. So while Poison Necro, you can at least lower res the bosses and get some ticks to hit a little harder, even if that curse doesn't last terribly long, you're doing less damage into more resistances, and the magic damage just does that pecking bullshit again. You can lock them down with Golems, but you might get stressed on mana and keeping that Merc up, who I think you might need for this class. I'm not mentioning where I found the BoneMancer video, because I am going to criticize it here, because it was something like, Ownage of Ubers using Bone! And it was like painfully slow and a really Merc-centric kill. I'll give it an average score because it is a Necro. It can tank them, and makes Ubers just so easy. It's a 5 out of 10. It can do it. Man, it's so slow. It's so slow. Gearing ease. Well, thankfully, your best in slot wand is only for BoneMancers, and the rest is just basic caster gear, so it's kind of cheap. There's nothing really fancy about it. It's a 9 out of 10. It's really easy to gear. You can always start off with Trangs, and the Skull Collector actually might get some use here while you're gearing up. And those are, World Stone Shard apiece? Playstyle ease. So, yeah, it's fun, man. God, I just wish this class had a little bit more difference in the bone skills to make it feel everything more unique and situational, but it's a spammy shotgun class that runs through things. I mean, it takes a bit more thinking than Brain Dead Throwbar because you have to stop on those high life maps and aim a bit, but it's simple. You have some tanks and throw a Doom on the Merc for an even easier time. 8.5 out of 10. So, a 6.75 out of 10, which is slightly above average. I was kind of surprised by this class. I thought it would be a lot worse, actually. I really like this class, and it, like I said, it did surprise me. So for the third or fourth time, I think this class just needs a little love on balancing. It's not like it's unbalanced or underpowered or overpowered. It just needs a slight rebalance, and I think you could do something good here. Just a slight change to the ingredients, and you could have a much better cake. So I hope it gets a decent look on the Season 5 rebalancing. I'm just going to talk here randomly for a bit because I realized that wasn't long enough to keep the current overalls up on the screen. There you can see them. What do you guys want to talk about? Any dreams you want to discuss? Leave me your most vicious dream in the comments section below. Help out the algorithm, guys. Oh yeah, and sub buttons in the corner. See you later.